Welcome to the show. This is Tech Talk Live. We are here. It's Tuesday, February 11th. I'm Jack Armstrong in Los Angeles.
And I'm Sam Giacinto here in DC. It's a snowy one today, and you're listening to Tech Talk Live.
Lots
Welcome
to
to the
talk
show.
about as always. Yeah, welcome to the show. Don't forget our website, techtalklive.xyz. Sign up for mailing list updates. We send updates every week, and our podcast is wherever you can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and YouTube. So lots to talk about today. DeepSeek is, of course, still in the news. Their models, but Gemini 2.0 Flash and Pro 6 days ago were released just after, I think it was Wednesday, and it's impressive. They seem to be scoring better on coding and reasoning tasks than O3, OpenAI's O3 and DeepSeek R1. So that is interesting. I mean, Elon and the offer as well have been shadowing the news today because he is trying to bid potentially to take over OpenAI. It seems more like it is really just they have issues with each other, and this is really Elon's way to just mess with Sam Altman's restructuring of the company. They also have legal disputes, so I don't know if you're aware of that, but there's quite a bit of drama, and I think to throw things together, they've proposed 90. It was a little, I believe, over $90 million offer.
It was 97.4. I don't know where the exact figure comes from. It's, again, I assume he has financing. I mean, this is like, it's all, I would say the details are pretty light on this. I'm trying to find the funding source specifically.
Well, so the group was led by Elon Musk. It's not only him, obviously. It's it's a group. Obviously, Elon is the target name, and I don't know. I mean, if you had to choose one, that's an interesting debate to have Sam Altman or Elon Musk in charge. I mean, obviously, last year we had the fiasco of Sam Altman being ousted by the board. So he's obviously been back by now, and we see a lot, changing over there. There's a lot of drama these days, and it's very fascinating too because DeepSeek also took the news and the world by storm last week and the week prior because of their reasoning models and how affordable it is, and of course the fact that it's a Chinese company potentially stealing, I guess you could say, maybe some of OpenAI's tech, but it seems more like they've patched. I saw this week that Minstrel, the open source model Minstrel from the French company, they seem like they also borrowed some of their tech. So it seems like DeepSeek had borrowed parts of different AI models to construct theirs, and then they had techniques and strategies for how to lower the cost and the processing power that was required to do some of the reasoning, and to just much cheaper inputs and output tokens. So very fascinating to see.
Well, and something too, Mistral obviously has been popping in and out. I don't know if we covered this, but they had a really kind of honestly revolutionary small model. Small models don't get a lot of attention because they're not quite as, let's just say quite as performant as something that takes, 2, 10, 20, 100 times the amount of resources. But Mistral Small came out at the end of January, which has been a very, this is kind of, when we're talking about the accessibility factor, it's kind of a cool niche as far as, as models go, because a lot of attention again on kind of the big players per se, but the Mistral small model more or less as performant as 4.0 mini with more or less, increased performance. So it's kind of a cool, really cool open source replacement for kind of these smaller models. But I did want to mention that because it doesn't get a ton of coverage. So
yeah. Well, there's a lot, and also Gwen, the model from Alibaba that was also decent at coding tasks. They've also developed theirs, and then of course Llama and Meta, of course, they're open source models. Growing and growing in size and capabilities as well. So you've got that.
But yeah, we have to talk about this offer. So this is kind of, again, for context's sake, right? Our friend Elon has a history of saying funding secured, right? Do you remember that in 2017?
Yeah, for Twitter. For the Twitter.
That essentially kicked off an SEC investigation, and then also kind of put a scarlet letter on their back. At least these days, I think people kind of have a short memory, but consider the fact that he has, made offers before, and at least according to reporting from Reuters, it seems as though the OpenAI board has yet to receive a formal bid from the Elon Musk-led consortium. Although his lawyer says he emailed it. So again, just a bunch of he said, she said. I think this is just a very public kind of dig at Sam Altman. Him and Elon have kind of been clashing recently. I think if we turn the time back, at least with the founding of OpenAI, the way it's been construed is perhaps Sam wanted to take the company in a different direction than Elon, whether that be open versus closed source. Again, the details are just very murky because this is all he said, she said.
Yeah. Well, it should also be worth noting that the costs, OpenAI's costs are through the roof. I mean, they're not making money. I mean, I think investors they're really overvaluing OpenAI. It seems like, I mean, I think DeepSeek really threw a wrench into all the valuations from these AI companies here, because it just doesn't make sense, when they tell you it's going to cost $100 per, millions and millions of tokens or whatever, and then DeepSeek can do that same thing for like a few dollars. It's crazy, the cost differential. And I feel like the leadership of OpenAI is already a little shaky, especially as, of course, Sam Altman is restructuring everything at OpenAI. So yeah, this offer is a little strange, because also, with the buying of Twitter in the past, that was quite odd how that announcement and how that was put out there as well. It's kind of almost like a joke that then became reality, and then they held him to it. Oh no! Hey, we switched sides. Look at that. But yeah, no. You hear me?
Yeah, no, you're back. Yeah.
OpenAI has gone through a lot. They've gone through quite a bit, and so anyway, this is interesting. Also with Elon, is it serious? Was he serious about Twitter the first time? So anyway, a lot going on there. That's for sure.
Well, an interesting point. I always like to kind of put this in a little bit of perspective. And, this is not, by far really not, any qualitative data that you can really take away. But I like looking at the Google trends for various terms in the industry, right? And ChatGPT by far, and when I say by far, so we can even take let's take the last week, essentially. ChatGPT, sort of the heat meter, interest over time. Now, Google will never Google will never tell you, but apparently this seems to be a linear value. So a value of 100 is peak popularity. A value of 50 is half as popular. And a score of 0, not enough data. So in the past 7 days, we have DeepSeek at 5 out of 100, ChatGPT 28 out of 100, and OpenAI at 2 out of 100. And that's just the past week. If we take the past 30 days, which that includes the huge spike in interest, sort of the fever of R1 breaking the internet. The DeepSeek search results basically only were above ChatGPT for 2 days, January 27th and 28th. So I think the hype and sort of the place in people's minds is kind of that underrated. ChatGPT is the name for AI. Most people don't. We can add Anthropic to this list too. That's kind of a nice, really just.
But even Anthropic, a lot of people aren't. A lot of mainstream people think ChatGPT. They think OpenAI.
Yeah,
they're not really thinking, what is DeepSeek? What is Claude? What Anthropic? Wait, is Anthropic the company or is Claude the company? Wait, Claude's the model. Anthropic's the. Yeah, a lot of people it's a lot for people to think about.
And honestly, like DeepSeek has been the only really AI related in this kind of informal experiment I'm running. Let me share my screen for just a second. I'll turn it off, but because I think this is something worth looking at. Because here's what we're looking at.
Well, name recognition.
Name recognition
is
so really for only 2 days. 2 days, and if we zoom out, this is in the past month. If you look at the past not the past 5 years, maybe that's too much. Let's look at the past 12 months. I mean, this is kind of the state of the AI market, right? ChatGPT has a staying power that's really, like no other. I don't know what even comes close other than DeepSeek as far as in the popular.
Yeah, DeepSeek's already down. That's crazy. It's had its week or 2 week period.
And look at the fall off too. It's nearly indistinguishable from. Maybe it's twice as popular as OpenAI, but it's still 1/10 as popular as people searching for GPT. So I think that in that way, GPT being the first to market. I really let's try 5 years again. Maybe we can remove a few terms here.
It shows you how powerful OpenAI is. Well, it shows you the valuation. Elon Musk at $97 billion. That sounds crazy when you think they're only bringing in like 5 billion revenue, or their costs are like 5. It's like 10 times what they're actually bringing in. Not even that's not even profit. Like they're not really profiting. Do you know what I mean? Like it's crazy. Crazy.
That's kind of the thing. Is a sort of like it may not even matter at the end of the day. Simply because it's it's all about the. I hate to say it, but Uber didn't turn a profit until now. Obviously, they're not burning nearly as much money. As a high-powered AI company. But there's a term that kind of floats around the internet is like, the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent. So, if the hype, if the hype is enough, which essentially I think, hate to bring, Elon into this, but this man is essentially just a hype machine. Like none of the fundamentals of Tesla, for example, make any sense. But for some strange, resilient reason, this company, and you can see it in the analyst reports they write for it. It's just like, they say, oh, well, he has something, quote, epic planned. It's from JP Morgan. They're basically just saying, we have no clue why this, and it's all the hype factor. because you can really you can honestly just sustain off of hype for really like much
crazy
longer
amount.
than any other rational being can perhaps stay and time the market. I mean, so
also by the way, I think it is interesting. I saw this on Medium. For anyone that doesn't know, you actually are able to go to aistudio.google.com if you'd like to build a model with 2.0 Flash. So this is actually fascinating too, because they give you a little. I have the premium. I don't think it's actually through this interface, but this interface is different than the Gemini interface, like on the Android phones. So I do think that this is fascinating when you look at the settings and their whole AI studio interface here. And they're really pushing, it's basically how to access Gemini's API. And anyway, you, Sam, might like this. I thought that this is a good resource, and you can create a prompt. So it's, this is how you can use the models for free without paying. You should be able to have access to 2.0 Flash and Pro models by signing into the Google AI Studio and going to create a prompt. So you could show that if you'd like to share the screen. But obviously,
sure, let's hop in and take a look here.
That URL again, anyone listening and not watching the stream, it's aistudio.google.com. And so that is a way to check out the Flash 2.0 Flash models from Gemini for free. And they also have experimental models that can interact with apps. So it does seem like they're doing more advanced, they're having more advanced capabilities for lower costs. I mean, again, it's a cost benefit analysis here, but really like they want, that sustained growth. And then I have one other, after we show this, I have one other point.
So I won't try not to dox myself here. So welcome to the internet.
Yeah.
But
we see your screen.
So here's the studio. So it's kind of honestly, it's quite impressive. I mean, you get a lot of options, at least, like compared to ChatGPT, right? I mean, it seems like you get quite a bit of
like fine tuning. Like there's some settings on the sidebar of how you want the model to run. Would you like to incentivize code execution, structured outputs, function calling?
Oh my god!
Would you like? Can you ground the results? Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Would you like to block?
Turning down the civic integrity, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, harassment,
dangerous content.
Hate, so
wow.
These are safety settings they have for the Flash 2.0
anyway,
Flash
welcome
models.
to 2025. Yeah, we just have the guardrails off. That's insane.
Fine-tune these models. I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, because people want.
Well, I'm gonna block a few hate. I don't know.
Yeah.
We can't be showing this. Interesting. So this is Gemini 2.0 Flash, and I guess we can. I mean, this is cool. It gives you a little little cut off. Wow, and it's
so
kind of.
I wanted to touch while we're tinkering around with this, because again, Gemini 2.0 Flash is really. It seems like there are a few strides ahead of OpenAI 03 at the moment. But the information had reported today on the strategy behind Elon Musk's $97 billion article. And I think it's interesting because this is a lot more than they've raised previously. And the Microsoft, of course, is a large shareholder in OpenAI, and OpenAI is for profit. And so it's interesting because they... the recent talks, obviously, with Elon Musk's offer are valuing OpenAI's business at $260 billion, if that's true. And so they could imagine that Elon buying a stake and now raising the valuation. That's crazy. And then so basically, if this continues, they say then a 45% stake for the nonprofit would be worth nearly 120 billion. As a side note, Musk's team estimates that the nonprofit's assets control over the for-profit and rights arms for some of its future profits is essentially equivalent to a 51% stake in the for-profit, meaning that Musk is valuing the for-profit arm at about 190 billion. So it seems like they're really going back to like for-profit. Should this be a for-profit or a foundation or something like just for humanity? Obviously, a business needs to cover its costs, and yes, they should make money. But I don't know if this is a good thing. It's really hard to tell. It's really, really hard to tell if this is a good thing. But
I mean, I'll go on the record and just say probably not. I mean, because the thing is, like, who is it good for? I mean, we can start there, right? Has OpenAI's governance, could it have been better as a corporation or as an entity? Perhaps. So, 50-50 on whether it's good for OpenAI charitably. Is it good for you, the consumer? Probably not. It's probably no better or no worse, so 50-50 on that. And yeah, I mean, it's really the only, I think the only person this benefits is a certain person's ego, objectively.
Yeah.
But I mean, because it's really a crapshoot of how the product would change. And some could argue, it's like, maybe Elon's an excellent product. He's excellent at releasing products. I mean, the thing is, though, it's like he already has XAI. Why buy OpenAI?
I know.
Like, what's so good about it? Is it and honestly, like, the only reason I can kind of think of is that he's a little butthurt, and because like you already have your own AI company, and essentially the man who changed his Twitter handle to Harry Balls for a period of 2 days is trolling Sam Altman. I mean, that's really all it is. So, we basically have somebody that basically posted his way into buying Twitter and now considers himself Harry Balls on the social media network he bought, is essentially trying to buy his rival's company that he's already suing him for. So that's what's going on. Honestly, I don't think this is any more serious than the Tesla buyout. It's just more kind of tech, it's just more like, it's just more noise. I don't know.
No, it's a lot. Well, you know what I
don't know
see.
What you think. Not to dominate with my opinion here, but it's I mean, can you see it any other way? I mean, do you think Elon will be any different? I mean,
no. Yeah, I don't. I feel like he wants a stake in everything. I feel like, you have a good point. You already control XAI. I mean, it's like, really, you have an AI company. Why don't you just focus on
so
that?
What is he gonna do with XAI now? It's just like
merge them together. Like, it's just crazy. Or contribute
to one AI Frankenstein, I guess.
It's just like focus on your thing.
That'll be great.
It's crazy. This is the problem with like too much money, maybe, right? Like, I'm sorry, but you might have too much money to like. I mean, you should, gosh, like, put that money towards your XAI, and then maybe it'll be big. He's like, I see it as this: you're basically diminishing Grok's value by him wanting to buy stakes in OpenAI. I mean, it's just crazy to me. It's like, why don't you put that money towards XAI instead of buying out some of or all of or whatever of OpenAI? It's crazy. It seems like with the whole nonprofit 45% stake controlling 51%, it seems like yeah, is that a ploy to just pretend like you're the good guy for humanity's sake? And look, I will say the United States exports technology. We always have, and I do think it's good for the economy in the country. I do. I mean, so like, I do think. Again, I think DeepSeek is great. I think it's good to have challenges and competition. I think competition is good. But I will say for Americans, for the economy, and just, of course, for the world in general, and even Europe. I mean, there was a lot of news today, too, with the Europe market and the French, the France kind of being a leader there. And I think that it's interesting because we need to, I think, keep a lead in the AI race. And if OpenAI is the way to do that, then great. If Elon can help with that, awesome. If it's OpenAI or Google or whatever, like I do think it benefits having control, because also keep in mind, like there are companies and government branches and they're already banning DeepSeek and stuff. It's going back to the whole TikTok again. I mean, so I'm just going to say like China doesn't really like American stuff. I mean, I know that, the iPhone's not as popular there. They've got Xiaomi, they've got other brands. I mean, come on, and I think it's kind of like how we don't, I know a lot of people like TikTok, but DeepSeek, it's like, again, are you going to use the Chinese one or are you going to use the American one? I think it's weird that this has become a sense of like pride and if DeepSeek is truly just going to be better, yeah, we need competition to keep things in check. I don't think they should ban DeepSeek just because it's from China. Like, let's get that straight. But I think that there is a benefit to keeping OpenAI strong. And I mean, the money could also go towards XAI, right? But like, if OpenAI is really going to have that innovative edge, then I guess it probably benefits everyone in that sense to have OpenAI, maybe more powerful. I don't know. I don't know. Like now, again, a lot of profits don't go to people. I mean, and how much would it really help the economy? I mean, the productivity. I do think AI is an interesting argument too, because AI can help all businesses and people become more productive. So sure, yes, even if profits aren't strung out to people in the country. I mean, yes, of course, jobs and more people and more research. But like, I think that by having these tools and keeping them into American tech companies at the beginning, you've got the first mover advantage. And I think America needs to keep that first mover advantage. Again, not trying to get political, but with the technology, we do export. I mean, look at Apple. I mean, come on, look at OpenAI, look at Google, look at Meta. I mean, seriously, like it's ginormous. Amazon. I mean, it just keeps going. And I think that we do need to have a better position going into the future with infrastructure as well. We don't want, to have technology stolen by maybe like a DeepSeek and now us miss out on that game. Now, I do think, like I said, competition's good, but it'll be interesting to see. I mean, does OpenAI need a higher valuation right now? Really? Like, I don't know.
I mean, honestly, it really, I mean, I'm curious about the financials now that we're talking about it so much.
Yeah. Like, woo.
But it's, I mean, I think, I mean, the value lies in, a $5 billion loss on 3.7 billion in revenue.
Well, keep this in mind as well. American tech is always going to be more expensive to operate than Chinese tech. I mean, I'm sorry, but it goes back to the same argument. If you're making a cell phone and you manufacture it in the United States, the supply chains here, again, are not China. It's able to be cheaper there. Now, with an AI company, it's a little bit more abstract. If that company is based in California, then great. But their data center costs, their energy costs, their research costs, I'm sorry, but it's just going to be more than China because they pay people less there. I mean, come on. Like, so you've got the quite literal comparisons, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't think people are like, that's what blows me away. Why are people not talking about like the currency, the exchange rates when they talk about the, or the GDP of these countries or something like that? Like, they're just comparing, it's like, is it really apples to apples? Is this really, can you really compare OpenAI to, I don't know, it's weird. Or again, is this just the American premium? You know, like the Apple premium. Maybe Xiaomi and Samsung are perfect phones for a little bit less, you know, just because they're not American brands,
Well, no,
you know?
I think you bring up a good point. I mean, I wouldn't call it the Apple of AI in the sense where it's like positioning itself as a premium product. I just think it's the most well known. Because I think for people, it's like, as far as AI goes, I mean, we saw the Google search trends, AI is ChatGPT. So it's like, unless there's some revolutionary, like, unless there's an AI that can, like, cook you dinner, nobody's going to switch from ChatGPT to, some slightly better model. I mean, we obsess over, the benchmarks, and, Google came out with this, and Anthropic came out with this, and DeepSeek came out with this. But, dialing it back to the average user, it's like, I'll use ChatGPT. Oh, ChatGPT came out with a new model. That 2 week period where, technically Gemini is the king of the hill, won't really matter too much to somebody who's, I use ChatGPT and I just pick the best one that I can use, and it's pretty good and it keeps getting better. There's kind of no real reason to experiment in that way because, I mean, this is a whole new frontier. So it's just like, for people who naturally are resistant to change. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, it's hard for me to keep up. It's hard for you to keep up. I mean, we learn, stuff for the show every week, but most people aren't necessarily interested in this, and I can't blame them because it's exhausting to keep up with. So I can totally just see, this is ChatGPT. Oh, O3 came out. That's great. I'm going to use O3 now. And it's like, DeepSeek R1 was pretty cool, but, heard some weird stuff about it. It's just like, I don't know. I already paid for ChatGPT. So it's like, I'm not really like, people are very sticky as consumers. And that's, I believe it's almost an economic term. It's just like, how stuck are you to a certain product or service? How are you going to, and I think OpenAI knows this. I mean, we've seen the $200 a month subscription.
That's losing money.
I don't know how many people pay for it technically, but
Yeah.
I just think it's to buy them some time because it's like, we can segment our market a bit more. Like truly. I mean, I think it honestly is a little strange for OpenAI to only have a single tier of pricing, at least from a business perspective. So I'm not shocked. It kind of seems like an engineer's way of doing it. Like, oh, we're just going to log tenant. We're going to have a $20, $200, and $2,000 tier. Obviously, like, I'm not a marketing major, but you need more segmentation. Okay. I mean, I think a 20, 50, 100, 200. I mean, or just something to make it like, honestly, why not 20, 40, 80, 160? Keep it.
Yeah, or keep the 200 because if people want the highest. This goes back to limits. I mean, and personally, I think you should always have three options. That's just me. So I think you should have a low, middle, and high. And I do think that is the 200 plan unlimited? Please tell me.
I'm honestly not sure. Let's see.
Because they could easily just, I'm not sure, I don't subscribe to that, but I do think that it's interesting when you think about it because if that is unlimited, they just put limits on it. Make a $50 plan. I mean, come on. And that's still a lot of money for what it is. If you should be using it. But I wonder what the differences would be if they were to come out with other plans. And then, we cover on the show a lot of tech all the time. Every week, a new model is outpacing another. And O3 was just we talked about last week. So anyway, we should find some hardware news, maybe.
Well, yeah, I'm not seeing a limit on the I guess you just get the option for, and then I mean, this is also I hate to say it's somewhat old because it's 2 months old. At least from
That's old in
the
the AI world.
December 5th, 2024, right? It's it's old news now, right? But because they're using O1, so I don't really I don't know if you get any more O3. I mean, let me just check in my account settings, to be honest. And like, yeah, I want to upgrade.
Yeah.
So what do you get? I guess you get unlimited access to advanced voice mode. Okay. Access to deep research in O1 Pro mode, which uses more compute for the best answers to the hardest questions. Better Sora video generation, and then basically access to the research preview of Operator. So essentially their agent. So really, I'm not, there's really no O3 Pro yet. So I would say, if anything, this is perhaps probably the least appealing, to be honest, because I guess the only thing really good is O1 Pro, and maybe the Operator if you're into that. If you want AI to, screw up your Starbucks order, and I'm being facetious, but in 6 months it's going to be,
you could be doing that, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, if you're using this extensively, you won't hit limits, it sounds like. You probably won't.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess for most people, I'm trying to really think about who it is for. I don't know. I guess really big fans of OpenAI, I guess, or perhaps a business. I mean, there's probably other things that are, they don't show you in the kind of the 3x5 subscription blurb. And perhaps they're worth it. I mean, maybe Operator's worth it. I didn't really hear too much about it. And this is kind of one of those things where it's like, you almost have to, there's so much content. It's like you really do have to, if something keeps appearing, over and over again, people are impressed about it. If people are impressed about something, they talk about it. And Operator is still fairly new. It came out January 23rd. So
Yeah, we
I
can't
mean,
really
we'll have to see. I mean, it can book a trip. It can do, but you still have to kind of watch it, essentially, and kind of confirm what you're seeing in a way.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, I haven't really seen that much about it, or really anything about it. But I mean, that's where things are going, right? Automating tasks on your computer, pretty much, like for you. You give it permission, and then it does.
Yeah, I guess say that, like, does everything look good? Yes, book the trip, order the coffee, or do So now there's still, and I believe they're doing this just because they it's a way to train it, right? Because it kind of comes to that conclusion of here is essentially, like, here's your coffee order, is it correct? Sort of, you're, in a way, by confirming it, you're training. You're not categorizing data per se, but what you're doing is you're categorizing a decision tree that the AI has made. So it goes through and essentially completes action A, B, and C. And you are verifying this, and then also paying for the privilege of verifying it, which I think is hilarious. But I mean, I guess that's how it is. I mean, you really do just kind of have to pay. You have to pay for the cutting edge stuff, and sometimes yet you still are the product.
Yeah.
So it's it's something that really just kind of, no, it doesn't leave a great taste in my mouth. But
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we'll have to see. I think that's a common refrain, is like, it depends. We'll have to see, because who knows? Um, I think in maybe a few months, operator could perhaps be, um, I mean, it could be a lot better. I
Talk of
mean,
the
things
town.
like,
Yeah.
because they're going to take a close look at when operator didn't do what you wanted it to. We're going to tweak it, and we're going to say this was the intended behavior. And
Yeah.
it's only going to be like, again, this is the worst AI will ever be, is today. And then tomorrow it will be better. And then we said this again, I'd like people to kind of reflect. It's like we're 2 years into this. We are 2 years from ChatGPT 3.5, from just exploding onto the lexicon. And now, we have agents that can basically do everything but tie our shoes. I mean, some of the stuff is getting scary good. And, breakthrough after breakthrough. And we're still moving forward, for better or worse. So, effects unknown, technology rapidly progressing. So, keep up with it. Try and incorporate it in your day to day. Try using it. Try learning about it. I mean, don't be caught flat footed. Keep tuning in. I mean, shoot, we talk about it every week.
Well, it does kind of blow me away, how people fear that it's going to take over their job. Because I kind of look at it the other way, and I say it helps so many people do more work. It's just you have to learn how to use it right. And I think it's just a new technology. Like, we didn't have iPhones forever. I mean, before we had iPhones, things were harder. You had to maybe go get a CD and then a CD player and then plug it in, and then you didn't have wireless headphones and you had to untangle it. And now things just get easier. I mean, it's like, I think people are not really looking, like, I kind of look at it like this. If an AI can learn about you with your permission, of course, and you give it learns everything about you. So you give it, unlimited knowledge based on your emails, your texts, whatever you do, right? It tracks everything. I think at that point, if you give it permission, right, it can learn your daily routine and it can learn how to respond to things. Now, do you want to check it before it does? Yeah, probably. But imagine if instead of waking up with 150 emails, imagine if it cleared 50 for you, said, here are the top 20 you should respond to, whatever. And then, oh, hey, I have drafted them for you. Please read and modify. That just cut your time in half. I mean, again, you can still read the response, obviously, before responding. Like, no, of course, like, you need to respond. But if it learns how you respond, how you speak, and you give it permission to learn everything about you, and then, hey, you know what? I don't want emails to take me an hour. Let's take that 10 minutes. Now you just freed up 50 more minutes of your time to go do something else, to learn something else, to be more productive, or whatever. You just got your time back. So I think it kind of goes back to like the self-driving car argument too. You always hear about people commuting and they're behind the wheel. I mean, I get it. Trains already exist, but that's not always convenient for people. But yeah, if you could just hop in your car, and again, you just sat there, and you didn't have to drive, you'd have more time back in your day. And I think that you're not actively driving. And so I think that's kind of the argument again for self-driving cars, because, hey, you get your time back. You can now be productive doing something else. That doesn't mean you're going to be working longer. I think it means you're going to be working smarter.
Well, that's the optimistic way to look at it. I think the real question will be who will get your excess productivity. Will you still work the same amount of time, with the cutting edge tool that allows you to work smarter? Probably. It's just like, I don't think it's, as sad as it is, I think, the productivity enhancement will go to having fewer people do the same 8 hours of work, as opposed to, 2 people doing 4 hours of work each.
That's true. But then those people are going to have other opportunities. Those people are going to have other industries, other businesses, other
Hopefully.
productive work to do. Yeah, no, I think so. There's so many opportunities out there. It's just like, I mean, think about it. If you're starting a business and it used to take you, months and months and months to do the prep work and everything, and now you can do that with only hiring one person instead of a few for different tasks. I mean, I think it's like people aren't really realizing that, yes, sure, now someone's not hiring that person, but they're able to start something that then can be successful for them to hire real people. Sure, they might hire less people when things are automated, kind of like we don't have elevator operators anymore. Okay, nobody wanted to do that. We're not going to have taxi drivers in the future. There's certain jobs that are going to go away. There are certain jobs that are going to stay. Like I can tell you right now, food delivery probably not going away. You need someone to walk that thing into your house. Will people get paid more? Again, supply and demand. But now, if they've got a self-driving car or a self-driving taxi or trains and buses and other alternative modes of transportation in a city, you probably are going to see less taxi drivers. They're still going to exist, but it's not going to be as busy in the future now that there's more competition on the road for how people get places. And so I kind of think that logic is going to be the same with your productivity. And so whether that's responding to emails or whatever, and, I think personally, this to me means you should always be learning something. I mean, I don't know why people stop learning when they come out of school. Like, you should be challenging yourself every week, every day. You don't have to read a book every day, but like, you should be learning, watching videos about a topic that interests you. You should be learning how to improve your life and your situation. If you don't ever learn any more skills, I'm sorry, but you're never going to adapt to the new workplace of the future, whether that's AI, or whatever. And I think I will say, if you get good at using AI, now you're valuable because you're an AI tool master. You know exactly what tool to pair with what, and you know how to pair it. I mean, think about it. That's a new job. Yes, they might have displaced a few jobs in the making of that, but now, hey, there's a new job. And then keep in mind, there's all the people that work for the companies that make the technology. So, like, I don't think it's going anywhere. I just think people are going to start being more efficient. Instead of having a million people do things, you'll need less people, and those people will go do something else that they like to do.
Well, I think that is one view. I mean, I think another maybe, we weren't really built for this level of evolution in such a short period of time. The human experience, technology is a wonderful thing, and I love it, and it really does make our lives better. At least from a net perspective, I still think that's true. However, I think it is a little, it's a little difficult to have to be constantly evolving when previously, we evolved over generations. And now, again, it's been 2 years since the mainstream adoption of this technology, and we're already talking about societal shifts. This is something that fundamentally is going to be a difficult thing to swallow. It's not, it's not this easy thing to just, it's basically, not to be like the whole, oh, just learn to code all over again, but
people aren't going to need
it's a little, people can't just, pick up their skill set and, become an AI mastermind, of which we will need less of them, and, everybody can't deliver food either. We do need like some sort of participation in the system, for it to work. I mean, people have to order food for there to be a food delivery driver, yeah. But not to get all societally, but I mean, this is, AI is a very powerful technology and does have these implications. And honestly, like, for me, it's a very big uncertainty. I don't know what to think, or, there's several schools of thought on what may necessarily happen. There's some people who, are deathly afraid, from a Terminator perspective. Other people think, we will have kind of an ant human existence where AI just exists and we are the ants. It doesn't particularly care about us, but it certainly will not stop at building a road through the anthill because it just doesn't care. So there's several schools of thought, so active animosity, a la Terminator, that's the most famous example, right? Kind of the indifferent school of thought where it's just like, ants are to us, so what AI will be to us. And I don't know. I can't really think of, I haven't really heard the optimist field of thought. But I mean, we do have to realize that this has been trained on the entirety of humanity.
Well, Sam, I think it's going to get easier. It's going to get easier for people to build things themselves. Don't forget that. You're not going to have to learn coding anymore. You're going to speak an idea to an AI and boom, it set up your company and you already have sales. I mean, that's very optimistic, but like, I do think it's going to be easier for people to start things that were complicated before. And I mean, that's a good example. Like, I mean, I don't want to say everyone wants to own a business, or I don't want to say everyone wants to be their own boss, but I just think a lot of people, no one learns how to do that. No one learns what you need to set up, how you need to structure yourself, how to, like, again, it's a lot to learn. You have to research a lot of stuff. And so I think, again, there's an opportunity for an AI company to do that, which then enables more people to do what they want to do. Do you see what I mean?
And again, like I really applaud, and obviously I got to refactor my thinking in some of these things, but that is a very optimistic take. And I really do hope that's how it works out. Like, it would be great if, again, we could just create a company, bam, sales are coming in.
I mean, it could get there.
That's awesome. But then also, I mean, I think, well, who's going to buy my stuff? It's just like, because everyone's going to be yelling at the AI to make a company, and we may be employed, perhaps. And I think this is the biggest kind of cognitive dissonance within the tech industry is, a lot of these things, we're paid very well to deliver a technical solution, some of which we, could just be delivered via AI. It's just like, how many low to moderate level programmers or engineers will you really need?
Yeah.
And that's a majority. Not everybody's a principal engineer. Not everybody is a 10xer, and it's just sort of like, because the ruthless pursuit of productivity at the expense of really just anything that's not, I think is, it's not all positive. Okay. And I think this is kind of going to be a weird clash between, some things are intangible and are also important. There's other things in the world other than productivity and profit. You can balance them, but I think a focus on any one thing is obviously, it's going to lead you in an interesting direction.
It's true.
So
good point.
I'm hoping that we can find a balance. I'm hoping that we can strike that. But again, as with everything, we'll have to see.
Absolutely. Well, we're here every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern time. You know, you can find us any podcast platform, search Tech Talk Live, or visit our website, techtalklive.xyz. Sign up for email updates. You'll never miss a moment, and we'll only send you, one weekly email.
And we will be here next week, same time.
Yeah.
And
with more AI news, I would imagine. So
well,
we are expecting it next week, so stay tuned. If you made it this far, we are aiming to talk a little bit more about cars and car technology with someone in the auto industry. So a little sneak peek, and that's on the schedule next week. So should be here. So anyway, but we will be back for sure. And
as long as it's not
signing
Tesla.
off.
No,
I'm kidding. Not Tesla. We talk about Elon.
We'll have to talk about it at some point. It's the inevitable.
He pops up everywhere. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No,
anyway,
he's in your ceiling. Anyway, talk next week.
Exactly.
Great show. Thanks for tuning in.